Pa ću ja da dam ovima koji će to.
Može, super.
On je upaljen, jel?
Upaljen i radi.
Dobro. Ali nek radi. Ok. On radi sve vreme, samo da da.
Yes, just a second. They're recording, but it's much better if you use this. And I'm sorry, I'll put this on the side.
Okay, can we start? Možemo da počnemo? Yes. Jel možemo malo manje svetla da imamo? Ok, thank you. Good technicians tonight. Okay, let's go. Hello everyone, good evening, and welcome to this meeting with authors. After the opening ceremony, we had a chance to see remarkable performance traces by Ultima Vez company from Belgium. As you may know, Ultima Vez is one of the leading dance companies in Europe, and we have a great pleasure to discuss with the main author and person who established this company. So, from the very beginning, I was nervous about this conversation because in the program of your piece, it was written that it comes from a search for an inner story, a story that cannot be unfolded with a language, but it goes beyond tracing the pulses and dance and can be only interpreted that way. So I don't want to spoil the performance with too many analyses. So for the very beginning, I would like to ask you about the wider concept of your work, about your company. Your performers are as well co-authors of this play. So I would like to ask you about usual processes. As I can see from the list of name of the performance, it's a huge international company, I guess. So you can tell us something about the way that you choose the members of your troupe and something
That's
about
a lot of questions.
Yeah, daily routine.
What else?
Daily working routine.
Okay.
And things. Thank you.
Okay, let's start with the beginning. I was busy with a show and then Europalia, a festival in Belgium who focuses on continents, on countries, and then does everything in function of that countries. Contacted me to do, it was Europalia Romania, and they said, don't you want to make a show in function from that country, to inspire yourself, to find a link? And I spoke with a lot of people. They sent me architects and philosophers and so, and they wanted me to do about the post-Ceausescu time, where everything was censored and so. And my previous performance was Trap Town, which was a mythology that we rewrote about oppression. Two groups who live together and one oppresses the other since years. So it was also very political. So I said I don't want, in fact, about politics. I want to work around the wilderness, the last wilderness in Europe, the Romanian, Bulgarian wilderness, who is huge, but also getting destroyed. And so I went there, and the day I discovered that there was a ritual where the Romanians, the 1st of January, enter in the skin of a bear and basically dance like an animal to celebrate the renovation, the restart, like a lot of rituals are there. And I said it's interesting that the human being wants to enter in the animal, but the animal has to die for it. We have to sacrifice it. And so I knew it's going to be the last scene of my show where the bear enters in the human and, you understand, tries the skin of the human to be human and then says, no, I want to stay an animal. So that was the start. Basically, I knew something about it's going to be something with bears. Then I spoke with hunters and with many people, and I said, where's this bear from? They said, it's from my grandmother. Why? Because you can't shoot bears anymore since they came to Europe. And the gypsy people could not make the bear dance anymore. So there is a sanatory for bears who have cancer, and so, because they gave them vodka and this to calm down. So everything changed, but we also lost a ritual. We lost a folklore. We lost the friendly thing between the gypsy person and the bear. So a lot of things that I inspired me. Of course, the music of the Balkan was very inspiring. And then I was working with Trixie Whitley and Mark Ribot, a wonderful guitar player, but from New York. I led here a lot of music from the gypsies, which is in 7, in 9, in 13, but not in 8. And we inspired ourselves on that to start to make this show. And in a certain moment I was in a hotel there, and I spoke to a lot of people, and I started again to look to one of my favorite photographers, Joseph Kudelka, who took pictures, black and white pictures of the 70s from Bulgaria and Romania. And all these people, these Roma people who were so proud and this, and this was a big, big inspiration. And there was just a picture of a asphalt, a road, and a forest, and the gypsy people who were dancing next to it. I said, that's going to be the scenography, the forest. And if we change the road, because the road doesn't want to go around, the forests have to move. So we kill the territory of the bears, and the bears will take revenge. It's a bit, a fairy tale thing. Of course, we came with the witch, the forest witch, who has bears instead of cats, and all these things. And I felt we don't need a lot of text to do this show. It's more the music tells it, the absurdity, how people change into deers, just imagining it, and the antlers of the hands. So it's a kind of transformation, and it questions things, but also very fundamental things of who are we next to the nature. And I always felt the nature is indifferent to human passion. In 1998, I made a show which was called Inasmuch as Life is Borrowed. Why? Because the nature gives you the life, and sooner or later the nature comes, says, give it back, come, you just borrowed it. You have to come back to the nature. Hey, this is Alexandros.
Hello, welcome.
From Greece, and Kit from England.
Hello, welcome. We are happy to have you here. So, for the moment, I would put another question to the performers who are also co-authors of this piece. I would like you to tell us something about the process and about working routine in your company. And I guess difficult trainings and exercise that make you be so present and in this very demanding show, I think.
It's coming. The process was a vision from a trip that Wim took to Romania. So there was very clear photographs from a book that we went through at the beginning of the process, and this helped me create a story of a character that I would put on the scene of the road and of the forest.
Well, that was fast. Now I have to say more. The process, I mean, there is a regularity, and this is the thing that helps. So maybe at the start you think like, oh, I'm going to do all of this, and it seems a bit difficult. But with the regularity, you get into it somehow. So it becomes somehow a second nature, let's say, what you do, everything. We work with images of animals, for example. We work with images of people, of different kind of characters. And as you are getting into it, it becomes somehow like a second nature. And it's like a beautiful process to go through. And then it's really demanding in a way because there is the need of bringing something alive on stage. And this is something that Wim always pushes forward in a way. And he asks from us to bring something that is in a way personal, but it can also communicate with people. And through the story, that it can connect to the story. And it's a collaborative work in a way that there needs to be a lot of effort from both sides, and there needs to be a lot of compromise. So you are giving something, but that something might change in order to suit inside the whole thing that is being created. And of course there is a direction from Wim's side, and there are propositions from our side as well.
What was interesting is that he was the first person who had to be the bear. So we worked with a person, and the bear is totally different than the human, because the bear has very long feet, so they work with stilts in the costume of the bear. And so the whole anatomy of the bear was respected. Of course, he takes it off also, it's theater at the end. But we wanted to be as close as possible. So how many videos we looked from bears and so, from what can we do and what not. And it was very interesting also with the person who created the costume, how we can do, because they cannot do this. So they are walking to the floor, and the head of the hair of the bear is there, and with the stilts and so. I think this was super fascinating, how they, with the sketches, then he came with a part of the costume, and how little by little it became alive, and also believable, but still ironically also from we play the animal.
Thank you. I was reading that most of your work is somehow defined by the question, how does human behave in the extreme situations? And I think this is also relevant for this show. And this show starts with a moment of catastrophe in a way. So it would be great if you can give us a bit more information of these two dramaturgical notions in the context of this piece and your work.
I think sometimes about it, how I work, because for me it's very natural and I don't analyze too much. I do things, but at the end I think I can say I'm an action-driven director. So that means I make something happen and I don't explain it, why or how. And this I leave to the audience. So it's not a conceptual work, because the concept is we try to trigger your intellectual understanding. And I knew also it should not be a lesson to the people. It should be a kind of seduction. It's the same thing like the character of Borna. He's Croatian, but I knew he would be the guy who cuts the forest and who puts the asphalt and who do, but still he has to be sympathetic. And it's the same like if something happens, then it can mean something. But I never start with the meaning of something, I start with let something happen. And that's why I felt a road and I saw somebody get hit by a car. I don't know why. It was something I saw, and then we said, how can we do that? And we started to experiment and to suggest that sometimes you have these roads in the forest, and there is forest here and there, and you don't know anymore, do I have to go now this direction or this? Because this vision is the same as this. And I wanted to create in this 10 meters opening, which normally premiere was 22 meters opening, so much more. So a long, long road, and here it was smaller, but still it works. How can we create this space? Thank you. This too, a little. So how can we create this and this silence also of this little girl with these huge trees? Of course, we knew also we're not going to use the real tree, so the image is good enough. And then I had a friend who makes curtains like this, and he said, yeah, we do it, and if it's black and white, you suggest it.
I love your term, action-driven director. So I am calling the audience to give some action to this dialogue, and so please, if you have any questions, comments or notes, please tell us and you will get the microphone. Okay, from action-driven director, what does intuition means to you, and is it somehow different than the notion of instinct? I think both of notions are really relevant for this dramaturgy.
Yeah, instinct and I don't know what's the difference between instinct and intuition. I don't know. It's theoretical, I think. You can use this word or that word, but it has something that you feel rather something than that you know something. And I think the way we work, it's a lot like this, that we try a lot of things. And it's also, it's not a whole concept. It grows little by little. It's like planting a garden. I think you plant something and then you do, but it's not that everything is in the same time. And one thing grows a bit faster and another thing slower. And it's a bit like this. It's 4 months of creation. It's long. And I think that's also something why so many things come in. Now, I must say the music is very important in this. And I start to paint in my head how it has to be. Like, I know, I worked with Romanian thing, which was in this rhythm, but we could not use this. So I asked Trixie and Mark Ribot to have something similar. But then there are also this epic thing, like when this verse has to fall, it becomes almost epic music because they are great musicians. And then there is the abstract part where it's not melodic or nothing when the deers come, which is in fact was a live improvisation, because this show in the beginning was with live music. So they played every day a bit different. And that's how we work, in fact, how the music influences us, how we go, and nothing is finished before. Even the set, and so it grows during. You do an opera, you have 18 months before, you have to give you plans that they can construct it. You know, the cast has to be done, everything like this, because it's, yeah. I like that people still take time to create. Of course, we create, and in the meantime, we still go on tour with another show and so, but it makes also that you cannot have to do your first idea. You do it, and then you try it again, and then you say, maybe it's something else. And then a lot of things drop out also. A lot of propositions, this, that, drop out to make a curve, to make a story.
Thank you. Yes?
Must add something to this. Yes. The same process of not knowing, like you put an action and without explaining what it is, it happens the same with us. So as we are creating also the dancers, we go into the actions without knowing why and what it is for. We just bring it to life in a way. And I think this is a part of what makes the intuition come more alive, because it's a part of the process as well.
So, in the end of this process, what can you tell us about the collective character that you are playing and individual characters that you are playing in specific scenes of this piece? No? Difficult question, stupid question?
I think here it was something, there had to be a group, there had to be a crowd, there had to be a herd. Like when they are deers, they are a herd. They have to fit, but also not. But you see, they are also different. Like I said, I had an opera programmer who came last week in Liège to see, and he said after, wow, at the end of the show, it's like I know every person. And there are only 10, but they all have their function, an energy, a kind of way of doing. And then they also come together again. And of course, there are maybe, Borna has another leader thing. Masha is an opposition of him. And some people choose to be with him, and some others choose to be with Masha. And then you have the bears, but the bears is, we never know who is the bear. Like he is the domesticated bear. But the black bear is Davide. And Peter is the killing bear. And I knew also like this, I said, yeah, I'm going to have 3 characters of bears. The wild bear, the beginning, the black one. The domesticated one, he. And then the killing bear. And this was based on a story I heard in Romania. The bear was sleeping in a cave, and there was a tourist who said, I want to take a picture of the bear. So he went in the cave, took a picture, the bear wakes up and kills him. And I find it a great story. It's like, let him sleep, you know, don't go to take a picture. So I said, I want to have a killing bear. Because when the bear wakes up, he's very angry. And I felt it a very nice story, that we always want to disturb or take picture of something.
It's a great story, and some of the elements from that story about the bear is what we can see in the character of a leader, or in the treatment of problem of cult of a leader in your piece, who is doing bad things, but it's still somehow silly, and we don't find him dangerous. He's a person that we would like, in a way. So why did you do that?
Yeah, you know, like somehow I felt it was not a character who is bad person. He does bad things without knowing. He loves the asphalt. He's proud to make a road. It's like people who are proud to cut something, or I don't know. And I felt it was more this than consciously against, because he's also a great dancer. And I knew also he gets sick, so he has to cough, but he doesn't know it. You understand? And it's almost like these people in Chernobyl who say, I don't leave. And they keep making the fruits, and then they live there, and they stay there. They say, yeah, there is maybe radiation, but for me it's not bad. You understand? So they stay there. So it's more the innocence, the innocence. And I think an innocent character tells also a lot about our innocence. Because there's a lot of things that we discover now with the phenomena of catastrophes, of this, of that. But catastrophes have been in the Bible. There was the locust, there was the floods, there was a lot of things who always were there. But it's like we were innocent for generations. In the last up of the economical rise, where 50% of the animals disappeared, it took 30, 40 years because the young kids said, there is a problem. If we don't stop now, there are no animals anymore. And that's why this character had to be a bit like this.
More silly than really dangerous.
Yeah, it's not a lecture about climate change, because it was more how this nature is indifferent to it, and it makes us think. But on the other hand, I can't change the world with only the show. I can just trigger something to the public.
Make people think. So, what do you think of this show? Boris Liešević, please, do.
Thank you. Hello. Thanks for all these nice words. I really appreciate your way of thinking and creating. First to do something, and then and to try a lot of things, and then to analyze. I really appreciate it. I just wonder what happens at the beginning of the process. Do you know how long will the process last, and what will be the performance at the very end?
Yeah, we have a plan mostly. We have a date of premiere. Like, where did we do premiere? In KVS? No, in Bruges. So there was a date, but then you plan, and I had to go to New York to record with the people in the studio before they came to Brussels. And of course we also recorded live again, but we knew from the beginning it would not always be live. So we had to prepare for this, which was very difficult, because the show was not finished. So I was in the studio in New York explaining people. I showed them things, but I said, but it's going to be 3 minutes longer.
With the musicians?
With the musicians.
Okay.
But they never saw the show yet. So they were composing, doing, I stay with them, and I was directing them, and some of these recordings we used. Later we still recorded again, while they play live, to add things and so. But that was a very important process, and it forces me also, to musicians, I had to explain my show. They are like, yeah, but what we have to do? Yeah. What is it? So sometimes I had images, but from some things I had no images. So, of course, Mark Ribot, I know him since long. He made for 3 or 4 shows music for me. Trixie made, she's a Belgian-American singer who did for Trap Town the whole music. But here I said, Trixie, I don't want you to use lyrics, because lyrics is for her American lyrics. And I said, it's not about English language, it's a Balkan thing. So you have to use your voice as an instrument. And she said, great.
I find it a great decision.
Yes, yeah. Because if she would speak, it's too much. But she embraced it very good. And yeah, we are used to work with musicians also to in the studio do scenes who were not finished, but that they know they go on for 1.5 minutes and we construct it later. And it's all a chaotic puzzle, in fact. Like if you come from out, it's like, what are they doing? Or how can this function? It's a really weird thing. but the experience knows a bit how it works. I have a bit a clock in me, what I have to do when. Like sometimes in England I made a creation in 6 weeks. So I know after 2 weeks I need that, and now I have to start to finish movements and to do. And also here I try a lot of things, but in a certain moment I know now we have to start to fix. Now I must say, it was not such a difficult creation. Like the latest creation, Hands Do Not Touch Your Precious Me, that we finished after, it was very difficult because it was during the pandemic. I was working with 3 people, the next day with 4 others, because we were in bubbles, we could not touch each other. The Olivier de Sagazan, who worked with us with the deformation of clay and so, he could not come. So I was going on. It was around the story of Inanna, a goddess of Mesopotamia when the matriarchat was still ruling. So very interesting. It was together with a composer who knew a lot about this, Charo Calvo, a female composer who works electroacoustically. And there the puzzle was much more difficult. Some works it's easier, and others it's very difficult to puzzle. But yeah, we feel it. I don't like plannings, and so I like to feel the end is there, so then I have to do this and then this.
Thank you. And I have one more question. How you deal with dramaturgy? Do you create a storyline during the process, or you imagined it before?
So I imagine it roughly, but it changes. And then I don't have a dramaturg who's continuously sitting there. Because I find it more useful that the dramaturg comes, sees some things, talks to me or to us, suggests things, and then disappears again for 2 weeks and comes back. Of course, they have to write text, like you said in the beginning, about what is the show and so, but even this, it's not my favorite thing, that you explain everything in a text, what it's about. I think sometimes it's interesting to receive it and not to hide behind an explanation, but they are very useful.
And to leave the things open.
Yeah, also I work a bit with, I invite sometimes people I think are important, and then I talk to them, I listen. And some things I follow, others not, but somehow we are all a bit each other's dramaturg. With me, the people are forced to do impros, which is not following my creation. They get like ceremonies, let's say. So I come in, who has something, and then Alex says, yeah, I need this and this dancer, I do something. So I don't know what it is. And they come with things which is a kind of answer of my drive of creating. So it gives air. And I must be very honest that sometimes you have whole scenes who start from there, who don't come from me, that we develop. And I think it's interesting because we have, Masha is Russian, he's from Greece, Kit is from England. It's very different fantasy they have and a very different response to that. And sometimes they come with things that you are like, ooh, what's that now? And it's also, it forces the people to feel that it's their show. And that's the only reason why they are so good, I think. And that we also feel from inside, this fits best with this person. And sometimes, like you say, he makes something, at the end it's somebody else who does it. Because even there are impros that they say, I have an impro for that person. And they create for the other, because they had an idea for that person. And yeah, I think it's interesting. It's
also, I think it's important in the work that you use the people that are there and the specificities of the people. Yes. So it's not about forcing an idea on a group, but it's also seeing how the idea will come from the people. I saw this in all of the creations, I think.
But if you work in a collective, it's very important to have a good collective. And I think that we would all like to know, how did you make this cast? How did you choose them?
Wait, because Kit was already in another show. Before, Alex was in 2 shows. So you were both doing a creation before. Who was new in this show? Maureen, Peter, Davide. So some people were new. And you know, before there were auditions, and then 1,000 people take a plane and go to Ultima West to try, and it's too much pressure of. Because basically, I try always to give a lot and to make it a kind of workshop and that they can learn a lot and so on. But you see fantastic people, but they don't really fit in it. And you have to say to a lot of people, no. So recently, we don't do that so much anymore. We have like sometimes open classes, I teach again, I look around, I see a bit. It happens, but audition, it's a bit like, it's not anymore of this time, I think. And our auditions, it's really, we work with people. And it's not like in some big cities, they come and people come for audition and say, you not, you yes, because of the face. I'm there like, you understand? And I never read CVs or something. People have beautiful CVs, and in fact, it's, you say, but I look. But to look to 1,000 people, it's very heavy. And then now with the digital thing, you have to look to 500 videos or something that people send. It's killing. It's very hard.
Thank you. Mr. Vandekejbus, we have another question from the audience. Yes, please.
I'm coming from Macedonia, and so this performance, my main impression is that this performance is about a mutual taming of the nature and the human. I'll tell you why. The tradition of my country is that we are having carnivals after the New Year. That is what in Serbia is called the Serbian New Year. We are calling an old New Year. It recalls me that including that carnival, the main dance is of the people who are wearing bear skins. It is the main dance of all that carnival. So they are figuratively attacking people, expressing a coital movements, something like that. That's why it was impression of this performance. I traveled here especially to watch this show, and so I had an opportunity to cuddle a real bear, the tamed one, and I would like to tell that the bear was in the forest nearby my town, and everybody knew that it's a tamed bear. So that's why I had an impression of this performance like that, like I've told you, because there was people who were violent to the bear. And the gypsies are telling us that once you're taming a bear, the bear couldn't, it's amazing, the bear couldn't get back to its wilderness. Yet it remains vulnerable. It's that's so. That's why it was very interesting. The movements that I think it's a metaphor of human acting was very interesting in that direction. That's why I think it's a performance that is very unique to me. And also it reminds me to hints of Carol Churchill, Mad Forest. It's dedicated to the Roman tradition. And thank you.
Welcome.
Any more comments? Yes, please.
Congratulations, guys. It was really beautiful. 2 questions. I'm just wondering how you established your company. That's really, I would like to know about that. How Ultima Vez was established.
In the beginning?
Yes.
Whew. Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit.
That's a long time ago. I was performing. I studied photography and a bit of psychology. I stopped. I was performing with Jan Fabre. We were here in Bitef with The Power of Theatrical Madness. I was the king without clothes a long time ago. And then, after that, Jan, he wanted to work with classical dancers, so it was not me. So and I stopped my studies, so I said, okay, I'm gonna make a show myself. And that's how it was, and it was also 10 people. It was What the Body Does Not Remember. I asked money to theater, not to dance. And we made that show in 6 months because I didn't know how to do it. I never studied theater, dance, or film, and it's all what I do now. And somehow I changed the media because I was a bit innocent. I saw it in another way than how they teach you. And then we started playing What the Body with Thierry de Meij and Peter Vermeers, who made the music from the band Maximalist. Incredible music, very strong. And we played in Italy. We played. I had 5 co-producers, so it was Ancien Belgique in Holland, 1, 2 in France, and 1 in Italy. And then the Kitchen of New York saw us, and they said, "You can come to New York, but you have to pay your own travel." And we said, "Of course, we come." So we went to lend, borrow money to go. We had to sleep in houses of technicians and so. And we played in the kitchen. And Iggy Pop was in the room, and after, because the last scene is stamping scene, and we bow and we go away, and then there was a guy who started to stamp in the public because it was this gradins, and it was Iggy Pop, you know. So, and we won the Bessie Award of the best show that year, the most renovating dance show. And then 2 years after, with Les Porteuses de Mauvaises Nouvelles again. So it was like a shock. Of course, we were throwing bricks and frisking people and very. Yeah, it was a very physical show, but I didn't see it as a dance show. And then we were, basically, they made us the revolution in dance. And that's how it started. But I must say, the way we worked, it was different. We know more now, but it's not more easy now to make it, because the first show, you bang, you do. It's like the first feature film of a cineast. It's probably the more important. Because there you see which language he makes or she makes, which way of seeing things. And that's very, if you feel nothing in that, it's very hard to make your second or third a good film, I think. And What the Body was something like this. It was like and still we did revivals. It toured the whole world, and it stayed an interesting code. We changed the media. And that's how it existed. I was super young. I was 24, just 25 when we did the premiere of What the Body. And
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
have
Yeah.
another question? Yes.
No, I just wanted to ask the performance. How did you guys stay in shape during COVID? Because all lifts that you did, it's tremendous, beautiful, and outstanding, really. So how did you keep that shape?
Kid, you dance in the street.
Yes. Well, with some of the regulations allowing extreme sports and people of athletes, we kind of pushed to fall in that category. So we were allowed to also use our own studio because we are our own bubble. So that was one reason that we could train together. Me personally, I started to run to catch the fresh air. And also to dance on the street was the other option. So I became part of an initiative from my friends to dance on the street with musicians. And it felt like almost a research of how I would land in the piece with the road. And we gathered a lot of followings that we continue today to keep arts alive. And now we are petitioning for people to still appreciate the art that kept going throughout the pandemic, even though there were people giving their lives to help save people that were in need. We also needed to keep alive our spirit.
It was also, we stimulated a lot of people to use to start their own things. And I think a lot of creations came from them to do their own pieces to do. I said to them, work, work, work. And when the pandemic is finished, you have something. And we did it also with our latest show. I said to Christine, our producer, said, we have a big studio, let's do it, let's try. And when it finished, we have a new piece. It was 4 times delayed, the premiere, and then we did the streaming. And now in July, we did the premiere. We were in Italy. We were gonna do the premiere. And one of the girls tested positive, and it was a false test. 2 days after, she tested negative, with the blood, and so they could come. So we could do the general and then do the premiere in November last year. And the night before they came, the theaters closed in Italy, so we came back. And now we're going to play in October. That means a year later in that festival. But we did, then the premiere was going to be Belgium, then January. And in January we did a live streaming. Me personally, I went to Rambert Company in London and I made a piece which was made for streaming. So we changed the whole studio with paper, in a set I used the staircases, the cave, and everything was live filmed. And in Korea they were looking. And we danced in midday, 12 a.m. And at 1 a.m. in the night, we danced for New York, and everything was live. It was a kind of new way of sharing with your public.
Fantastic. Congratulations one more time, and thank you very much for this beautiful night.
Yes, we have another question or comment, please.
Thank you guys for a fantastic show. Wim, thank you very much. It's always nice to see you. I've been following your work, I think from the beginning of your career. I had the chance to live in Paris and to see your first works. And thank you very much for sharing the story of your beginning. That was really nice to hear it again. I have a question for you, considering your creative process. Your first piece, let's say the first 6 or 7 pieces, from the What the Body Doesn't Remember to the Mountains Made of Barking to the Lush on all the others from 95, let's say, to 2000, have a lot of video on it. And we liked that you using the video and that you have some meta story in a video, in the shows. And even you made films like a movie director. And now in this show, in the traces, I don't see any traces of the video projection. I don't see the video films. I don't see any other media except the bodies, dance, and the music. So what's happened with the video in your work? What's changed?
Well, the piece before, Trap Town, it was quite extreme with video. Because it was the follow of Blush. In Blush, we created the video because it was about Orfeo and Eurydice. So it was the paradise and the underground. And I said paradise, I felt water. But of course, you can't put tons of water in the stage. So I said, let's film it. So we filmed down and we were diving in the screen. It was the elastics. It was, in this time, wow, a revolution almost. And we filmed down in a dolphinarium, which doesn't exist anymore. Now it's forbidden because it's abusing the animals, but we were filming with the dolphins and we dived in, swam away. So we jump in the screen and the image swims away. And then I was going to make a follow to that and I said I want to go a step further. I wanted to work with actors. In the meantime, I did a mockumentary of a contemporary savior, which was a lot of text about a sci-fi piece where a savior, a messias, saves 7 people in a room. And they talk about belief and all this thing, a lot of text. And I wanted to work with some of the actors, but I could not pay them because they had full contracts in England and so. So they say, yeah, I only can come a bit. So I said, I'm going to put you in the movie. So I filmed them, and there was the mayor of the city in the trap town where there were 2 groups who oppressed each other. And he always stayed in the film. And one of the dancers went in the film, acts with him, comes down and continues to act with the image. So it created a kind of live and not live, very interesting, but a lot of movie. Also cost money, you know, you have to shoot, you have to edit it and do. And in this show, mostly I have something, I felt that the biggest medium here, which is from outside, what they do, is the music. Because in the opening of the show, there were 5 musicians on scene. And if then I still would put video and so, it would be too much also. And for me, nature, when you are in the forest and you feel, you don't need film, because film is artificial, you know. As soon as you project something, everybody do this, looks to the screen, because we are used. So I would like now, in the next show, I have an idea, I want to work with film, but people will hardly see the difference sometimes between what's film and what's not real, or what's real. So to have this idea of merging the things, but it's a lot work with light. It's not we project a film. It's like, is this real or not? And I will do it, but sometimes it's like I made one Sonic Boom. It was about radio. And it was a DJ guy and a radio man, and on the scene was happening a radio play. When you have a radio play, you don't use video, because you focus on that medium. And I think you have to take care to do a smash of all the medias together, and it's a multimedia show. No, if you don't need it, you don't need it. In this show, I don't think we needed extra video. Maybe.
Thank you for the question. Somebody else? Questions or notes or comments? Okay, then in the end, I would like to ask you two questions actually. One is about elements of humor in this piece, which make it so good in communication with the audience, I think, and very appealing.
Yeah, for me, humor, I never start from that. Because if you say, I'm going to make a funny piece, it's very dangerous. Humor is always inherent on something else. Like something is funny because just before happened something else. You understand? The funny thing on itself, it's very seldom. So sometimes it's also people laugh, but in other moments or something, and some people say, this is not funny, and other people find this funny. But so I'm not so busy with it, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's very dangerous to try to be funny.
Okay.
It's more easy to try to the darkness or the roughness or the, I don't know.
Thank you. What about you? Do you want to comment something on that?
Kit is very funny, but he doesn't know it. But
I do believe that you're really funny on stage.
I find within the character that I find the direction through this piece, that there is a timing that we have between each other that helps it to be read as funny or not funny. So there's moments where we allow the audience to progress, to process what's happening on stage. And I feel like in some of that moment where they realize what has happened between all of the people on the stage, in that timing, then they can find it funny if they caught what we presented to them on stage. And this is something that we tune into each other to give the audience to taste if they want to.
yeah, a lot of things appear. It's like the teddy bear. Of course, it was like you work with bears, and then, of course, people say, yeah, and what about the teddy bear? Because the teddy bear is, every kid has a teddy bear. But it's also the symbol of tenderness, of love, of this, of that. And because you have a teddy bear, a lot of things happen with it. Then it became, for me, it's an extra character. The teddy bear is an extra character that is so charged with human emotion, in fact. That, but the teddy bear itself, it's just a plushie, it's nothing. And I find it interesting how, and a lot of people say, what, Ultima Ves is going to work now with teddy bears? Like, and with bears? Is Disney World? Or some critics really said it. It's like Ultima Ves goes Disney as title. And they didn't understand what we do, but it's okay. If they see it like this, they can do it. And they broke it down. Because they don't like. But they want another thing. It can be, but I am not scared of using that thing, because it's something very simple, but it becomes something else in the show. And it's like the Anna Karenina uses, she's a bit the teddy bear girl, but she uses it to impress more with her big boobs, and then she changes it into a baby that has to be born. And she just want, her exercise was, she has to want attention, because the other girl has attention and she's not in the picture. So she is gonna fake a lot of things. She had a whole scene that she was laying next to Kit. She took his hand and she started to scream because he attacks her, but he didn't do anything. But she fakes the attack of him. And then they were kicking him out of scene. And he could not play. The scene is out, but this was a very funny scene.
The funny things always came as an accident.
Yes.
And that's the nice thing, because it's more funny when it comes naturally, not intentionally, as you said. when you try to be funny. And also in the creation, a lot of the funny things came like by chance.
Yeah, and then you start to puzzle and to do, and it becomes something.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for this
Let's
answer.
go to everybody's teddy bear now.
Okay, and my final question for tonight is somehow inspired by the subtitle of Bitef, At the Edge of the Future. During this discussion, you mentioned that you have a lot of experience with different media formats and that you worked in the formats that are made specially for stream. So I would like to ask you, what do you think about future of performing arts facing this challenge of pandemic and facing all possible challenges that future might bring us?
That's a big question. Yeah, yeah, it's a big. I don't know. I mean, we were very busy. I find also the artist itself. Of course, it was a hard time, but on the other hand, it gives you also time to reflect, to think. I think our thoughts are more daring now, more solidarity came, that people dared to think a similar thing and see the problem of it. There is problems also in performing worlds. If before, when we travel to America, we stay 1.5 months in America. When we go to France, we have 2 little cars and we travel 2 months in France. Now we go you go to Australia and you come back. You go to this, because people, they don't connect anymore. You understand? Now in Scandinavia, I said, Oslo brings us, okay, we go to Stockholm, it has to be there that we can go by bus to Oslo and not fly to Oslo and 3 weeks after again to Stockholm. So there are some problems also of timing of place, you understand? Because we have to travel, we have to do, but also we go to people. I start to teach. I go to people. I will start a project with kids in India, with kids in Africa and kids in Europe to do the similar story in it, and they start it, here it continues, and there it continues. So I'm looking for long time projects, because we have to produce and then the audience has to come to see. Everything is different after the pandemic, but maybe in a good way, but there is a lot of other problems. I don't think with art we can trigger people to be conscious about the indifference of the nature that we are neglecting, because we think we are passionable, we want to explain everything, but the nature is just indifferent to that. And we're going to pay for it. And we are digging our own hole, that's clear. But, yeah, the solution, I think, like I said in the other thing, and I will repeat it, I think there has to come. The good thing was the magical thing that suddenly the world stopped altogether. But it was a problem, a lux problem. Because a lot of people have the money to wait and to do 2 months nothing. And it's okay. The rich went more rich. But in India or something, people could not go out and they were beaten when they went out. But they said, we have to go out because we have to eat. We need €1 to eat, to find it. And I find this is the unequal thing that we have to see how it happens. Yeah, and I think it's also in theater the same. But the thing that economy, we grow in numbers. And if the economy always have to keep growing to exist, this is absolutely ridiculous. I think the only drastic thing will be, okay, we grow in numbers and the economy has to slink to get less. So we have to do with less. We don't need every 10 years even a new car. We don't need now all to buy an electric car and all the diesels go to Africa and pollute there. It's not the solution. We just have to use less and not produce more. But all the politics say we have to grow, we have to do more, we have to this, because we have to grow. Why? We can't. If you see how much, and it's the same with us. In fact, we have to try to do less, but we are not the world economy. We are doing a lot with few.
I see. Mr. Vandekejbus, thank you for all these very inspirational answers. Thank you as well. And we are looking forward to welcome Ultima Vez soon again in Bitef Festival.
I'm very happy to be here with this thema with this show, to open this. Grateful. Thank you.
Oh,